They try to make you feel small, like your presence is a whisper lost in the noise, like your worth depends on their approval. But here's the truth. The moment you stop seeking validation, the moment you no longer react, they lose their power. A shadow only stretches as far as the light allows. Remove the light, and it disappears. A snake's strength is not in its size, but in the fear it creates. Stop fearing, and it becomes nothing. People who belittle you don't need you to fail. They just need you to believe you're not enough. But what happens when you refuse to shrink? When you stand firm, unmoved, they realize they were never as powerful as they thought. Because while they're busy trying to undermine you, you have a choice to engage in their pettiness or to rise above it. And when you choose yourself, when you carry yourself with silent strength, something shifts. Suddenly, they can't touch you. Stay with me, because what comes next will change everything. 1. The fragile power of those who belittle you. Have you ever wondered why some people feel the need to make others feel small? Why they lace their words with condescension, their laughter with dismissal, their presence with an unspoken demand for your submission? It's not because they are strong, it's because they are afraid. The loudest voices often come from the most fragile souls, and the ones who seek to diminish you are revealing not their superiority, but their own deep insecurity. People who belittle others don't do it out of confidence, they do it out of fear. Fear that if they don't keep you down, you might rise above them. Fear that their own inadequacies will be exposed if they don't keep the attention on yours. When someone mocks your ambitions, dismisses your achievements, or makes you question your worth, they aren't offering you a reflection of reality. They are offering you a reflection of themselves. A mirror, cracked and distorted, projecting their own self-doubt onto you. But here's the truth. You are not required to carry their insecurity. You are not obligated to shrink just because they are uncomfortable with your presence. The moment you realize this, everything changes. You stop asking, "Why are they treating me this way?" and start seeing the real question, "Why should I care?" Because the reality is, confident people don't need to belittle others. They don't need to tear someone down to feel tall. Only the weak need such illusions. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." And in this, we find the true power of those who refuse to be affected. You don't need to engage, you don't need to defend, and you certainly don't need to prove anything to someone whose only measure of self-worth comes from making others feel small. Let me tell you a story. James was an exceptionally hard worker. His dedication was unmatched, his results undeniable, and yet he had a colleague who always found a way to downplay his efforts. If James received praise from their boss, this colleague would mutter, "Let's see if you can keep it up." If James proposed an idea, the response would be, "That's cute, but we need something serious." At first, James took it personally. He started questioning himself, wondering if maybe, just maybe, they were right. But then he realized something. His colleague wasn't trying to tear him down because he was failing. He was doing it because James was succeeding. So James made a choice. He stopped reacting. He stopped trying to prove himself. Instead, he let his work speak. He became an immovable force, indifferent to the small-minded attempts to shake him. And something fascinating happened. The more James ignored him, the weaker his colleague's words became. The barbs lost their sting, the insults lost their weight. And in the end, the only one who looked small was the one who had spent so much energy trying to make someone else feel that way. So how do you deal with people like this? First, recognize what's really happening. Their words are not a reflection of you, they are a confession of their own insecurity. Second, refuse to take the bait. Let them play their petty games while you focus on things that actually matter. And finally, keep rising. Keep growing. Keep moving forward, not as a response to them, but as a commitment to yourself. At the end of the day, their insecurity is not your burden to carry. Let them struggle with their own shadows while you step into the light. 2. The power of unshaken silence. Words. They have built empires, destroyed friendships, ignited wars, and healed hearts. But for all their power, words are only as strong as the meaning we give them. A whisper can feel like a scream if we let it. An insult can become truth if we believe it. And yet, the moment you stop reacting, the moment you strip words of their power, they become nothing more than empty echoes. How many times have you let someone's comment ruin your day? A sarcastic remark, a dismissive response, a cutting joke wrapped in fake laughter. They know exactly what they're doing. They want you to flinch. They want to see you react, to doubt yourself, to feel unsettled. Why? Because the moment you give in, they win. They have successfully invaded your mind, controlled your emotions, and dictated your response. But what happens when you refuse to play their game? What happens when their words bounce off of you like rain on stone? The answer is simple. They lose control. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it." In other words, nothing can truly harm you unless you allow it to. The person who insults you is powerless unless you accept their insult as truth. The person who ridicules you holds no real influence unless you grant them authority over your emotions. Let me share a story. David was a man who had learned this the hard way. He worked in an environment where criticism was disguised as feedback, and backhanded compliments were the norm. No matter what he did, someone always had something negative to say. At first, he tried to fight back, defending himself, explaining his intentions, proving his worth. But the more he argued, the more they pushed. He realized that reacting only fed their need for control. So he stopped. He stopped defending himself. He stopped explaining. He stopped giving their words the power to shake him. And something changed. The same people who once enjoyed tearing him down suddenly lost interest. Their words, once sharp as daggers, now felt dull. They still spoke, but their voices faded into the background, drowned out by David's indifference. Because here's the truth. When you no longer react, you take away their only weapon. You leave them fighting an invisible battle zone where their attacks hit nothing but air. So how do you stay unshaken by their words? First, understand that their words are just that, words. They hold no weight unless you let them. If someone called you a tree, would you take offense? Of course not, because you know it isn't true. Treat their insults the same way. Second, control your emotions. The greatest sign of strength is remaining calm when others expect you to break. If you can master your response, you have already won. And finally, focus on what matters. People who try to belittle you are distractions. They seek to pull you into meaningless battles while you have a life to build, goals to reach, and peace to protect. Let them waste their breath while you preserve your energy. At the end of the day, your power lies in your ability to remain unshaken. Let them talk. Let them try. Let them wonder why their words no longer touch you. Because when you stand firm, indifferent and unmoved, you remind them of something they cannot stand to face. Their words only have as much power as you allow. 3. The art of indifference, winning without fighting. Not every battle is worth fighting. Not every insult deserves an answer. Not every challenge requires a response. Some victories are not won through words or confrontation, but through silence, through the sheer power of indifference. When someone belittles you, criticizes you unfairly, or tries to provoke a reaction, they aren't looking for a resolution. They don't want a discussion. They don't seek understanding. What they crave is control over your emotions, your attention, your peace. But what happens when you give them nothing? When their insults hit a wall of silence? When their provocations are met with nothing but a calm, detached presence? They lose. Because the truth is, people who try to make you feel small do not want to be ignored. Their power comes from your reaction, from knowing they can make you flinch, from seeing that their words can shake you. The moment you stop responding, you take away their weapon, you make them irrelevant. And nothing frustrates an insecure person more than realizing they no longer have power over you. Seneca once wrote, "Silence is a lesson learned through life's many sufferings." In other words, it takes wisdom and strength to know when to stay silent. Weak people react to everything. Strong people choose their battles. And the strongest of all, they don't play the game at all. Let me share a story. Alex worked in a high-pressure job where competition was fierce, and some of his colleagues thrived on undermining others. There was one in particular, a man who always had a snide remark, always questioned Alex's ideas, always tried to make him look incompetent in front of others. At first, Alex was tempted to defend himself, to prove his worth. But then he made a different choice. He simply stopped reacting. When his colleague made a sarcastic comment, Alex didn't flinch. When he tried to provoke an argument, Alex remained calm. He refused to engage, refused to explain, refused to let this person pull him into a meaningless battle. And over time, something changed. The provocations became less frequent. The insults lost their edge. Eventually, the man moved on, frustrated by his inability to control Alex's emotions. That's the power of indifference. So how do you master this? First, remind yourself that their words are meaningless unless you give them weight. If someone called you a bird, would you waste energy being offended? Of course not. Treat petty insults the same way. Second, resist the urge to argue. People who seek to belittle you are not looking for logic or truth. They want a reaction. Deny them that, and you deny them control. And finally, walk away mentally. You don't need to remove yourself physically from every situation, but you can refuse to give them space in your mind. Let them talk. Let them try. Let them exhaust themselves while you remain centered and unmoved. At the end of the day, your greatest power lies in what you choose to react to. Choose wisely. Let them drown in their own noise while you move in silence. Because true strength isn't proven in arguments, it's proven in the battles you refuse to fight. 4. Let silence and success speak for you. There is a kind of strength that doesn't announce itself. It doesn't argue. It doesn't seek approval. It doesn't demand recognition. True strength is quiet, composed, and relentless. It does not waste energy proving itself. It lets results do the talking. When people doubt you, mock your ambitions, or try to make you feel small, the instinct is to respond, to explain, to prove them wrong through words. But here's the truth. Words don't change, minds' actions do. No amount of arguing will convince someone who is committed to misunderstanding you. No explanation will satisfy someone who enjoys undermining you. The strongest response you can give is to stop explaining and start excelling. Epictetus once said, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." And that is the essence of power. Instead of wasting your breath trying to convince others of your worth, live in a way that makes explanation unnecessary. Let your work, your discipline, and your success silence every doubt before a word is spoken. Let me tell you a story. Daniel was a man with big ambitions. He dreamed of building something meaningful, but at every turn he was met with resistance. People dismissed his ideas. They laughed at his plans. They told him he was reaching too high. And for a while he let their words get to him, trying to explain, trying to justify, trying to make them see what he saw. But it was exhausting. No matter what he said, they always found a way to belittle him. So Daniel stopped talking. He stopped explaining. He withdrew from the noise, locked in, and worked in silence. While they doubted, he planned. While they laughed, he built. While they questioned, he refined. And then one day, without warning, his work spoke for itself. The same people who once doubted him were now asking for his advice. The same ones who dismissed him were suddenly paying attention. Not because he convinced them, but because he no longer needed to. That's the power of letting your actions speak. So how do you apply this? First, stop seeking validation. The moment you stop needing to prove yourself to others is the moment you become truly free. Your worth is not up for debate. Second, work in silence. Social media, casual conversations, and unnecessary explanations drain your energy. Keep your focus private. Let them wonder what you're up to. And finally, let your results be undeniable. Keep growing, keep improving, and keep moving forward, not to impress others, but because it's who you are. At the end of the day, your greatest revenge against doubt is not an argument, it's success. So let them talk, let them question, let them doubt. And while they do, you will be building something far more powerful than words. You will be building a reality that speaks for itself. 5. The strength to walk away, setting boundaries that protect your peace. Respect is not something you demand, it's something you enforce. And sometimes enforcing it means drawing a line so clear, so firm, that those who cross it are left on the other side, watching as you walk away. Some people thrive on testing limits. They push, they prod, they see how much they can get away with. A sarcastic remark here, a dismissive comment there. At first, it's subtle. A joke at your expense. A favor that turns into an expectation. A disregard for your time, your energy, your worth. And if you let it slide, they take note. Because to them, silence is permission. Tolerance is surrender. But here's the truth. The way people treat you is a reflection of what you allow. The moment you make it clear that you will not entertain disrespect, manipulation, or inconsistency, you shift the dynamic. You remove the power from those who once took advantage of your patience. You make it known that access to your energy is not a right, it's a privilege. And privileges can be revoked. Epictetus once said, "The more we value things outside our control, the less control we have." if you allow yourself to be consumed by how others perceive you, if you hesitate to set boundaries out of fear of losing people, you are handing over control. But the moment you prioritize your well-being over their opinions, you reclaim your power. Let me share a story. Sarah had a friend who constantly belittled her. Whenever she shared a success, the response was dismissive. "That's nice, but anyone could do that." Whenever she opened up about a challenge, the response was indifferent. "You're overreacting." Over time, Sarah started shrinking herself, second-guessing whether she was being too sensitive. But then she asked herself a simple question. If someone consistently makes me feel small, why am I still allowing them space in my life? That day, she made a decision. No dramatic confrontation, no lengthy explanations, just distance. She stopped engaging, stopped over-explaining, stopped making room for someone who refused to respect her presence, and suddenly, the weight lifted. She didn't need to fight for their approval. She didn't need to prove anything. She just needed to step away. That's the essence of setting boundaries. So how do you do it? First, recognize that you don't owe anyone unlimited access to you. Your time, your energy, your presence, these are valuable, and not everyone deserves them. Second, stop explaining yourself. A boundary is not an invitation for negotiation. If someone consistently crosses the line, you don't need to justify why you're pulling back. The fact that they made it necessary is reason enough. And finally, be willing to walk away. Distance is power. If someone refuses to respect your worth, removing them from your space is the strongest move you can make. At the end of the day, you teach people how to treat you by what you tolerate. Set the boundary, enforce it, and if necessary, walk away without looking back. Because protecting your peace is not selfish, it's survival. 6. Turning doubt into fire, using negativity as fuel for growth. Most people crumble under criticism. They hear words of doubt, rejection, or insult and shrink into themselves, questioning whether they were ever good enough in the first place. But what if I told you that every insult, every dismissal, every ounce of negativity thrown your way could be turned into the very thing that pushes you forward? Weak people let negativity break them. The strong take that same negativity and turn it into fire. When someone tells you that you can't, that you won't, that you're not capable, they aren't defining you, they are revealing their own limits. They are showing you what they believe to be impossible, not what you are capable of achieving. The only question is, will you believe them? Or will you use their doubt as the very reason to push harder, work smarter, and rise beyond their reach? Seneca once said, asterisk, difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body. Asterisk meaning, the more resistance you face, the stronger you become if you choose to embrace it. Because challenges don't exist to stop you, they exist to sharpen you. Let me tell you a story. Jake had always been underestimated. When he told people he wanted to start his own business, they laughed. Asterisk. You running a business? Be realistic. Asterisk. When he shared his goals, they shrugged. Asterisk. That's too risky. Just stick to what you know. Asterisk. For a while, their words gnawed at him. Maybe they were right. Maybe he was aiming too high. But then, something shifted. Jake realized he had two options. Let their words define him or use them as fuel. He chose the latter. Every doubt became a reason to push forward. Every insult became motivation. He worked in silence, grinding away while they continued to talk. And then one day, success spoke louder than any of their words. The same people who once doubted him were now asking for advice. The same voices that once dismissed him had gone silent. That's the power of turning negativity into fuel. So how do you do it? First, detach yourself emotionally from negativity. Their words are not a reflection of your worth. They are a reflection of their mindset. Second, reframe every insult. Instead of hearing asterisk, you can't, asterisk, translate it into asterisk. Watch me, asterisk. Instead of seeing obstacles as stop signs, see them as opportunities to grow stronger. And finally, stay focused on results, not revenge. The goal isn't to prove them wrong, it's to become so successful that their opinions become irrelevant. At the end of the day, negativity is just energy. It's up to you whether you let it weigh you down or turn it into something unstoppable. Let them doubt. Let them dismiss you. Let them underestimate you. And then use every word as fuel to rise higher than they ever thought possible. 7. The power of your circle. Surround yourself with those who lift you higher. You are not just a product of your thoughts, your habits, or your discipline. You are also a product of the people you surround yourself with. The voices you hear daily shape the way you think. The energy around you influences how you feel, and the company you keep determines whether you rise or remain stagnant. Some people drain you. They belittle your ambitions, question your abilities, and subtly plant doubt in your mind. They may not openly sabotage you, but their words, their energy, their constant skepticism slowly chip away at your confidence. These are the people who make success feel impossible, not because it is, but because their presence makes you believe it is. Then there are those who elevate you, the ones who challenge you to think bigger, push you to be better, and celebrate your wins without jealousy. These people don't just see your potential, they remind you of it when you forget. Seneca once said, "Associate with those who will make a better man of you." In other words, the people around you should inspire growth, not limit it. Because the truth is, if you surround yourself with people who doubt you, you will start doubting yourself. But if you surround yourself with people who push you, you will start pushing yourself. Let me tell you a story. Emily had dreams, big ones. But every time she shared them with her friends, she was met with skepticism. "Are you sure you can handle that? That's risky. Maybe you should play it safe." It wasn't outright negativity, but it was enough to make her hesitate. Enough to make her second-guess herself. And for years, she did nothing, paralyzed by the doubt that had been subtly fed to her. Then one day, she made a change. She sought out different voices, people who believed in her, who encouraged her, who saw possibilities instead of limitations. The difference was immediate. With every conversation, her confidence grew, and before she knew it, she was moving, building, creating. The only thing that had ever held her back wasn't lack of ability, it was the wrong circle. So, how do you ensure that you are surrounded by the right people? First, pay attention to how people make you feel. Do they uplift you or drain you? Do they inspire confidence or instill doubt? Your emotions after spending time with someone will tell you everything you need to know. Second, let go of relationships that no longer serve you. This doesn't mean harboring resentment or making dramatic exits, simply means distancing yourself from energy that pulls you down. And finally, Seek out people who challenge you to grow. Find those who push you to aim higher, who celebrate your wins without envy, and who remind you of your own strength when you forget. At the end of the day, the people in your life either fuel your fire or extinguish it. Choose wisely, because with the right circle, you don't just succeed, you become unstoppable. 8. Own your worth because no one else can define it for you. Some people will try to make you feel small, not because you are, but because it makes them feel bigger. They will question your abilities, dismiss your ideas, and act as if your presence is insignificant. And if you're not careful, you might start believing them. You might start looking at yourself through their eyes instead of your own. But here's the truth. No one can define your worth except you. People's opinions are nothing more than noise. They change with time, with circumstances, with their own insecurities. If you let external validation dictate your value, you will forever be at the mercy of those who don't even know themselves. The real power lies in recognizing that their words, their judgments, their approval, none of it matters. What matters is what you believe about yourself. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "A man's worth is no greater than his ambitions. Your value is not in what others say about you, but in what you strive for, in your efforts, your resilience, your ability to push forward, even when the world tells you to stop." Let me tell you a story. Ryan worked in an environment where he was constantly underestimated. No matter how much effort he put in, there was always someone ready to criticize him, always a voice in the background saying he wasn't good enough. At first, he let it get to him. He started questioning himself, wondering if maybe they were right. But then he asked himself a simple question: why am I giving these people so much power over my confidence? That was the turning point. He stopped seeking their approval. He stopped worrying about proving himself to people who were never going to respect him in the first place. Instead, he focused on his growth, his goals, his own path. And something incredible happened the moment he stopped needing their validation. He became unstoppable. So how do you own your worth? First, stop looking for it in other people's opinions. Their perception of you is shaped by their own limitations, their own biases, their own fears. It has nothing to do with you. Second, build your self-respect through action. Confidence doesn't come from words, it comes from showing up for yourself, from proving to yourself that you are capable, that you are enough. And finally, refuse to shrink. If someone tries to make you feel small, understand that it's because they see something in you that intimidates them. Stand tall anyway. At the end of the day, your worth is not up for negotiation. It is not something to be given or taken away by others. It is something you decide. And when you finally own it, when you stop questioning it, stop explaining it, stop seeking permission to be who you are, you become untouchable. Conclusion: stand firm, stay unshaken, own your power. At the end of the day, no one can make you feel small unless you allow them to. Their words, their doubts, their attempts to undermine any of it has power unless you give it meaning. The strongest move you can make is to recognize their insecurity, refuse to react, and let your success be the only response. Set boundaries that protect your peace. Surround yourself with people who lift you higher. Use negativity as fuel, and most importantly, never forget your own worth. Because once you stop seeking validation, stop explaining yourself, and stop engaging in battles that don't serve you, you become truly untouchable. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever dealt with people who tried to belittle you? How did you handle it? Drop a comment below. I read every single one, and your insights might just help someone else on this journey. And if you found value in this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this message with someone who needs it. Stay strong, stay silent when needed, and keep rising.